Do you have trouble navigating social situations in restaurants while you're on a plant-based diet? Well, we do too.
Yeah, and it's becoming more problematic, particularly because we're moving to a new area. So we're unfamiliar with the options available to us. So we thought this would be a great time to discuss our personal observations and the fixes that we've found that might be helpful for you.
Now, one thing that I want to say, too, is I am type 2 diabetic, and I am using a plant-based diet to reduce my need for medication. It's working, but I have to be very vigilant about certain things. Like I'm essentially what they call the high-carb, low-fat diet, and even slightly reduced protein over what some people say you should have. And it's been working, and doctors have said that it's totally fine. I'm not giving medical advice. I'm just saying what works for me. So with that extra restriction, it makes it that much harder to eat anywhere but home, where I have absolute control over everything that I put in my mouth.
So we're going to start off with the family gathering scenario. And we all do this around the holidays or somebody's birthday. We all get together as a family. Mm-hmm. And I don't know of a full family that's all plant-based. It would be great because it would make this all really easy. Because
ours is half and half now.
We're a half and half kind of situation. Yeah. But one of the things that we have learned is we coordinate. We have a conversation. We are open. We're very.
Let's list what we got first. There's us. There's her brother and his wife and their 2 young children.
Yep. And
then there's Derica's parents. So there's 8 people. 4 are omnivorous, 4 are plant-based.
Right. So we coordinate our menus. Mm-hmm. So we'll have an overreaching theme. Say, oh, we're going to do Mexican, or we're going to do out on the grill. And within that theme, we're going to figure out what they're going to consume and what we're going to consume and what might overlap.
Yep.
So most omnivores are still going to be eating some plant-based options.
Right. Yeah.
And so it doesn't have to be as one-sided as one may think. So we typically will do separate main dishes and then share some sides.
Yeah. And accompaniments.
And lots of times we'll do kind of like a charcuterie scenario in between meals, and that'll be partial.
By charcuterie, she means like vegetables and chips and dips and that kind of thing. Usually there's hummus and pita. It's not true charcuterie because we're not eating the meats and cheeses that the omnivores might be having.
Right. So it's charcuterie plus snack food, if you will, finger food. And so there'll be a mixture of things that are appropriate options for the omnivores and appropriate options for the plant-based people.
We're kind of fortunate, though. Your brother's family is pretty accepting of it, and your parents have gone over there enough that your brother's getting pretty good. He likes to cook as well, so he's getting pretty good at understanding and knowing what's what and how things work. And for the most part, there's not a lot of issues, really. It's just on holidays, I have to relax my diet a little bit because otherwise I wouldn't get to eat much that we have there. It's harder to be low fat is one of the issues.
Sure, but being open and honest and flexible, give some give and take. And I'm not meaning flexible by eating something you're not willing to eat. I mean being flexible by allowing each side to have their own options.
Yeah.
So we don't force our options on the omnivore group, and the omnivore group doesn't force their options on us.
If they did, we probably wouldn't be having as many family gatherings that way.
Right.
That's the truth.
And there are some times, certainly in social situations, where somebody may rub you the wrong way.
Yep.
And it takes 2 to tango, right? So as long as you are not judgmental and you just say, this is my choice and I'm going to stick to my choice and don't push things on other people, then you may find that they might be a lot more understanding and perhaps even willing to try your options rather than stick to their own.
I have a little statement to make. Back in the day when I ate Big Macs and Whoppers and steaks and sausage and pizza all the time, no one cared what I ate. The second I said I went plant-based, suddenly everyone cared what I was eating. It's amazing how that works. It's because it's not the norm for most people. And people are afraid of what they don't understand. That is the absolute truth. And no matter how the science says one way is better or the other way is better, none of that even matters if people that you're around all the time are not understanding of that. So that's why we don't judge. We don't tell others what they should or shouldn't be eating. You will never see us tell people to go vegan on this channel. We don't do that. We are presenting an option. And if you like it, you do it. And if you don't, well, we wish you the best.
Now, I do understand that there are different levels of comfort in these kind of situations. And it's becoming more and more uncomfortable for us to be around meat.
Yep.
There are certain odors that makes
Starting
it
to find it a little more disgusting every day.
really unpleasant for us. And so if you are really sensitive to the plight of animal welfare and you just can't physically be in the presence of those things, and that's something that you need to keep in mind and perhaps avoid sharing food in a social situation.
Yeah.
Instead, do a party night, like a game night, or cocktails or mocktails or
Yeah. We're not trying to say that it's easy. Is the gist.
No, you have to know what's right for you and what your comfort level is, and figure out how to balance that with your social situation. Now, again, as I stated before, ideally, if everybody is eating the same thing, then there's no need to worry about it.
But even if they're not eating the same thing, if everyone is respectful of what others have for their personal tastes, that's cool. And I mean, if you think about it from this perspective too, whenever there's a family or friend get together, there's always going to be people that like this food or don't like that food. I think of it the exact same way. I just don't like the food that they're preparing. I don't prefer to eat that, and they don't want to necessarily eat everything that I'm preparing. So as long as we all respect each other that way, there's no problem. The problem comes when people don't respect that, and it works on both sides. Yep. I've seen plant-based people get really rude to people who are omnivores and vice versa, and we don't want to promote any of that. I mean, can't we all just get along? You know, really.
Right. And that's where I go back to the comfort level.
Absolutely.
If that eating scenario is uncomfortable to you, then you're just going to have to try to circumnavigate around that and create a different social environment.
Yep.
And that goes back to friend gatherings. So more often than not,
it's a similar situation.
Your friendships change as you mature as a person.
Yeah.
And you may gravitate towards people who have similar likes and dislikes to you. So if you're new to the plant-based diet, welcome. Hi, I'll be your friend. But finding people that are sharing that journey is really going to help that social navigation be a lot more easy. There are plenty of groups online that you can find that are based in your local area. So if you're looking to find new people who are sharing this new diet journey with you, use your cell phone, use the internet to see if maybe there's something that's going to work for you to ease the social interaction in a friendship kind of environment. Your friends that you already have established, maybe you weren't plant-based all your life and you have friends who aren't plant-based themselves. If they're true friends, then they're going to understand that
and support you.
You have a different palate now, to put a word on it. So have an open conversation with them. Let them know that, okay, I'm okay with you eating what you're going to eat, but I need these parameters fulfilled. And either you can provide them if you understand them, your friend, or I can bring my own food. Yep. And it's not that I am judging you. It's that this is my needs and this is how I can fulfill my needs.
The problem comes when people say they can't be around others consuming things.
And I understand there is a comfort level.
I can appreciate
that.
None of our friends are plant-based. So if we are around them at all, if we want to be friends with them and be around them, we have to accept it. Just like they have to accept us, we have to accept them. And that's why I always say it's a give and take. I can understand, and I know some people watching this are angry and irate with me right now for even accepting it. But, well, I live in the real world, and that is the real world. Not everyone thinks exactly the same way, and understanding is going to go a long way towards making things work better.
But because we are really open with our decisions and our lifestyle and what we have learned along the way, and we're sharing that with our friends, a lot of our friends are actually experimenting
Yep.
and trying new recipes and trying our recipes that we're
Absolutely.
sharing, and we get feedback from them. That's really helpful.
Yeah. One of our friends actually went probably 75% plant-based because of just being around us and talking to us and hearing the good things about it.
Right. And for me, that's really rewarding because I feel like not only am I helping that person achieve potential health goals, but also that's another person that's going to help the overall environment of the planet. And that's a good thing for everybody.
Right. And there's something else here too. No one ever changed their mind because someone yelled at them or because someone judged them. And if anything, if the people on the plant-based side attack the people on the omnivore side or vice versa, all you're going to do is back somebody into a corner, and they're much less likely to change. Yeah. And they're much more likely to walk away from that interaction saying plant-based people are jerks.
Kindness, openness, and giving grace both to yourself and to the people you're talking with and interacting with is going to
go a long
be
way.
So much more beneficial to the whole process than becoming
don't be that
confrontational or aggressive. That's not helpful. And I can appreciate how you may be really passionate about animal welfare and the welfare of the planet itself, and how harmful some of these meat practices are. But attacking someone because of that isn't really going to be helpful.
Yeah, you're not going to change their mind. It's just not going to happen overnight. But let's move on to the next thing, and this is dining out. This is the thing that is going to affect us right now. With my extreme version of plant-based, where I have to be so low fat, it is very hard to eat in a restaurant because what do they add to almost everything?
So the area that we're in right now has quite a few vegan restaurants or plant-based restaurants, or restaurants that are omnivore but have a specific section on their menu that's plant-based.
We have about a dozen options.
And we're really lucky with that, but that's because we are in a very metropolitan area. And those tend to, because of the diversity of the people living there, have more options available for people like us. But we're going to get to the caveat on that a little bit later.
Yeah, there's more to that too.
So let's just say you don't have any of those specific options available to you. You just have your normal steakhouse.
Like where we're moving.
Seafood house.
We're moving to a more rural,
Italian restaurant.
I wouldn't call it rural, but we're a little further from town and a little further from a big city.
Right.
So there's no vegan restaurants.
Yeah.
None. Literally not one. But you know, there are your typical restaurants. Like I'm gonna just use this as an example. Outback Steakhouse, right? Probably the one place that if you're vegan or plant-based, you're like, there's just no way I can eat there. Now, I will say this. If your comfort level is such that you cannot be in a place where people are consuming things that are not plant-based,
then don't go.
Then don't go there. However, as I said, I'm more of a realist. I choose to eat what I choose to eat. So if I was to go to an Outback Steakhouse, I might say I'll have a baked potato with no butter and no sour cream. I'll have steamed broccoli, and I'll have a side salad and bring the oil and vinegar on the side. What did I just do? For me personally, I controlled the fat that's going to be in my diet because they're not cooking anything in fat, and I'm controlling what is being put on my plate. That is an extreme example, but if you think about it, every one of those things that I said is a side dish, which means even the waitstaff wouldn't have a problem doing this because I didn't ask for anything unusual. I didn't ask for special treatment or anything. I just said I'd like a baked potato, steamed broccoli, and a side salad with oil and vinegar on the side. That is no different than if I had ordered it with the other stuff that this place happens to offer. So to me, that's almost normal. You can go to Olive Garden is another good example.
Yep.
Their breadsticks are actually vegan too, if I remember correctly. Yeah, they are.
I think it's just mostly salt
Lots
and
of
garlic.
Lots of salt and lots of fat. But you can also they have spaghetti and non-meat sauce pastas. So you can get a vegan meal at these places. Unfortunately, here's what I come to a lot of time when we start saying this and getting into this. We talk about it all the time and we rarely do it. And here's why. By the time I do all that, I might as well just eat at home, because now it's not anything different than what I eat at home. But why eat in a restaurant in the first place? And this is kind of the important thing. Why do we eat at restaurants in the first place?
To be social, to have an event.
Yeah. To celebrate something, or laziness, convenience. Like you had a long day, you just don't feel like cooking, so you eat out. Well, that's a good reason and a bad reason, because once you're at that point, it's much easier to eat something that you probably shouldn't eat, whether it's just something that's extra sugar, oil, and salt, or if it's something that maybe goes against your ethics or morals or your own ideas of what you should be eating, or for your own health. So it kind of becomes a catch-22. Make it an intentional choice to go to a restaurant, and you actually have something written down that comes up later in our notes. Plan ahead. Know what you're getting into before you go there. Like, you probably don't want to go to a Brazilian steakhouse because there's probably not going to be much there for you to eat. And if you go there and they don't have anything for you to eat, it's not their fault. It's your fault because you chose to go there. Now, I understand if you're going there with friends, it's a different situation, but you can't get mad at the restaurant. You can't get mad at the waitstaff. It's not their fault. They are serving what they're saying they're serving, period.
And we talked about it a little bit, and that was the option of sides. And most restaurants, the side menu is going to be your friend because that's where you're going to have most control over what you're consuming. You can look for steamed vegetable items. You can look for rice items. You can look for salads with dressings on the side. And this is really going to give you the most control, not only of avoiding non-plant-based items, but also limiting the fat and the salt. Most main dishes, even if they're plant-based, it's a restaurant. They want it to be as flavorful and yummy as possible. So they're going to be packing in the oil, they're going to pack in the salt, and they're going to be packing in sugar.
And that's something that we found in eating out, that it didn't matter if we went to a vegan restaurant. And as a matter of fact, most vegan restaurants that we went to were full of processed foods that were just loaded in fat, sugar, and oil. And it was not good to eat that way. I mean, sure, you're avoiding the animal products and it's great for that, but as a healthier alternative, it's not. I will just say that right now, they are not a healthier alternative.
Right. And that's our next topic, is, are vegan options really the best selection? In our case, if we're going to...
Depends on the restaurant.
A restaurant that's plant-based specific, lots of times it's not the best option because they're really going to be pushing the salt, the oil,
everything's
and
Impossible
the
Meats,
sugar.
Beyond Meats. It's all the fake products that are just super highly processed, which... they might taste okay, but once in a while, probably not a big issue, but it's not something that I want to consume on a regular basis.
We have a high-end plant-based restaurant in our area that we have jokingly nicknamed Salt Lick.
Yep.
We're not going to tell you what it's actually
everything is salty
called, because that's not nice.
They just load the salt on everything.
But they're pushing the salt, and we're very much low salt cooking here, so
we taste it.
it's way too much for us. And
when your tongue is burning from salt,
we have to drink so much water when we get home. It's like our face is just drying out just from consuming the food. That's not a reasonable option for us.
Now, there is another restaurant that we go to. Mostly it's like a lunch place. They have burgers and they do a little side salads and potato salads and stuff like that. They're more close to the way we eat. But even there, I'm pretty sure there's a lot more fat than I'm used to eating and things like that. And we're seeing that, honestly, just a little bit more fat really affects me. We went to a Mexican restaurant for Mother's Day, and there was leftovers that I took home. I had vegetable fajitas, okay? No cheese, no sour cream, just vegetable fajitas, okay? They were zucchini and carrots and peppers and onions and portobello mushrooms.
Yep.
But when we took the leftovers home, I drained off like a quarter cup of grease off of vegetables.
They were all just...
And that was the leftovers.
Sauteed in copious amounts of oil.
I was sick for 2 days. I was actually sick for 2 days because of it.
It was not good. And this leads to another scenario that if you have the ability to go online and really deep dive the menu, look at reviews, look at any indication of how they prepare their food and what they prepare their food with, lots of times they're going to be sauteing with butter or with lard.
Yep.
And these are things
Fried in lard is a big
don't
thing.
want to consume. So you need to be aware and educate yourself to
Avoiding
know.
fried food in a restaurant is probably a good option all around.
Right. But there's some places where, like Mexican restaurants, it's typical for them to cook like their beans in lard.
yeah.
And so you need to know that ahead of time
Yep.
because you don't want to make that choice.
Yeah, a lot of the time they even cook their rice in chicken stock. So, I mean, there's a lot of little things that restaurants will do that you got to be very, very careful.
So check out their menu ahead of time, part of the plan ahead. And if you can't find the information you're looking for online, feel free to call the restaurant. Don't berate them. Just inquire in a polite manner, and they'll probably let you know. And you can even say, I have an intolerance to this particular product. Do you use that in your food? So that way it's not a confrontational, judgmental thing. It's just for my own health. Help me out so that way I can make better decisions at your restaurant. So that kind of wrapped up the last 3 topics, which are vegan options really the best selection? In many cases, not, if they've boosted the fat, salt, and sugar. Being understanding, that just encompasses all things. Be open, be honest, and be understanding, and that's going to get you a lot farther than being judgmental.
I actually had someone say to me one time when they found out that I was plant-based, they said, wow, you're actually the nicest vegan I've ever met.
That's a little disheartening to hear.
A little bit, yeah, because the thing is, I didn't push my agenda. They asked a few questions and I answered them, but I didn't push an agenda. And that hopefully comes across on this channel. I want to welcome more people into a plant-based lifestyle, but I don't want to push it on them. People will change when they are ready to change. We can't force them to. So just be understanding, help people out. If they have a question, answer them honestly and truthfully without being judgy about it, without condemning, without talking down to people. We're all going through this at different stages, and everybody, well, not everybody, some people were vegan their whole life, but most people who are plant-based now weren't always. So remember when you first started, and if it was a long time ago, you know how scary and crazy it used to be compared to today. It's a lot easier today.
And finally, plan ahead.
Yeah.
And that's regardless of the situation. If it's a family gathering, have an open discussion with your family.
Yeah.
If it's a friend gathering, have an open discussion with the family. And if you're dining out, find out, if you're not in charge of the restaurant selection, where you're actually going. Look up online to see what their menu selections are. And if you need to, go ahead and call ahead to make sure that they have something that you can eat.
But overall, just enjoy the food and enjoy the company and still live your life. You don't have to give up living just because you're plant-based. And as always, guys, thanks so much for watching. We'll see you next time on
The Bistro.